In horror show nurse news, an in-home nurse who shot up with meth before work, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend shooting up with meth really anytime, especially before work, especially before nurse work, but apparently did that, killed a 3-year-old girl who was under her care who required a breathing tube because of her own health issues, has been sentenced to prison. So we have killed the 3-year-old who needed the breathing tube, which is why the 3-year-old needed the in-home nurse, because the nurse shot up on meth. Here, apparently, is a picture of a nurse who uses meth. I am unable to tell that she uses meth. There are no obvious signs of meth use. I don't know what this news article is on about. The 42-year-old woman, nurse in Michigan, will spend a couple decades behind bars for killing the 3-year-old. Bernine County Court judge ordered Judith Sobol over here to serve 30 to 75 years relating to the death of Ophelia Mazzare. So Judith Sobol killed Ophelia Mazzare. How about 30 to 75 years for the murder of the 3-year-old? Ophelia's mother testified at trial that her daughter had been born with severe medical problems that required constant monitoring and a ventilator. Sobel had been assigned to watch for her daughter. So, mom over here has a daughter with some chronic health problems that requires constant monitoring and a ventilator. Mom over here hires a nurse to provide some in-home care, which, seems like a good thing to do. And then nurse over here kills the child. Wow. That's effed up. The girl was a very special child who loved music, cartoons, loved going to school, and was growing and thriving, the mother said at trial. A jury found Sobol guilty of 1 count of second-degree murder and 1 count of possession of a controlled substance, namely the meth. Officers with the police responded around 2:30 in the morning to a call about a child not breathing. Upon arrival at the scene, first responders found Ophelia and both of the parents inside the child's room. The father was performing CPR on his little girl. How horrifying. Also, incidentally, not for nothing, why is the father performing CPR as opposed to the nurse? It can only be because the nurse is completely out of her mind, right? The father is the one performing CPR as opposed to the nurse. That's how bad this is. Holy God. Police say the victim's parents told them they walked into their daughter rooms and found their daughter and the nurse on the ground. They noticed their child's breathing tube was nowhere to be found. Well, that's a little bit concerning when your child needs the breathing tube and not so much with the breathing tube. That might raise a concern. And several of the connecting components were also scattered about the room. The parents say that they hired Sobol, a registered nurse, to watch their daughter. Both parents, of course, were also trained in caring for Ophelia because, chronic health problems. So, being good parents, they got some basic training on how to care for their daughter, as one does. But they hired the nurse to look at her overnight while they slept because they were that concerned. Sounds like really diligent parents. Sounds like really diligent parents over here. Let's hire a nurse while she sleeps. But when police arrived at the scene, Sobel was lying on the ground in the fetal position, mumbling to herself. Ophelia was transferred to the hospital for treatment, but succumbed to her injuries and was pronounced dead at 4 a.m. So apparently being disconnected from the breathing tube was somewhat harmful to the child. Throughout the investigation, the officers found the registered nurse that was supposed to care for the child throughout the night. After investigation, they determined she was high on meth at the time. Sobel allegedly confessed she shot up meth before coming to work and admitted that she's responsible for Ophelia's death, but she wasn't in the right state of mind to be at work and shouldn't have come to work at all. You know what? That seems like actually a pretty good conclusion. Maybe I shouldn't go to work to care for the 3-year-old when I'm high on meth. Maybe I shouldn't do that. She allegedly told investigators that she shot up on meth before coming to work on each of 4 days before the death. So apparently, she did it every single time. Wow. South Bend affiliate reported the toddler's trachea tube wasn't located until after she was found in the hospital, where apparently it was found tangled up inside of her own hair. Sobol, who apparently had meth and 2 pipes on her at the time she was arrested. She had meth and pipes on her person while at work. Reportedly told police the trachea tube became disconnected while cleaning it. She then said she passed out. And she'll be eligible for parole at 71, and really good luck with that parole board. I'm sure the parole board will love hearing about this tale. Wow. Thus, that brings us to the end of the tale of Judith Sobol over here, who a 42-year-old nurse in Michigan, who was hired by a family to care for their daughter while the daughter slept. The daughter had apparently very serious health issues that required constant monitoring and a ventilator. The parents were trained in basic care and helped the child during the day. But apparently they were so concerned as parents, they hired a nurse to look at her every night while she slept. That is a lot of diligence. Probably not legally required, by the way, but they're caring parents. And so they did it. And the nurse they hired apparently was high on meth and on meth and with meth in her possession, and the child died. And so, yeah. So she will spend the next several decades behind bars and, probably die in prison. And that, for the moment, brings us to the end of the tale of this story.